Hi, everyone. Thank you for being with us on our conference from Behind the Development. We're really glad to have you on board. First of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Alexandre Chigny. I'm the owner of Hockey Development. I'm also Hockey Canada Certified Skill Coach and Hockey Quebec Certified Skill Coach. I'm working with Major AAA here in my city, and I'm also a teacher in physical education at elementary school. Um, I have worked with pro player to younger player, and I have many camp during summer also. Thank you for being with us, like I said, and I'll let introduce my partner Mitch.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for the introduction. This is me, Mitch Jigger. I just came back a couple of weeks ago from Russia. I'm the video coach for the Torpedo Nizhny Novgorod in the KHL. I just finished my first year with them. I am the chief of hockey development in North America for Sport Contract. I'm certified by Canadian Sport Institute, so I have my advanced coaching diploma. So basically, it's the NCCP 4. On top of that, I'm certified high performance 2 by Hockey Canada that I've done, I think, was 6 or 8 years ago. And I'm the owner of Behind the Bench, basically a video analyst that I can guide people, coaches, players with it. So I've worked with coaches from a different level on the video side. Check out my website if you need more information, www.behindthebench.ca. And lastly, basically, I've worked as a head coach or assistant coach or GM at probably every level. Work here in Quebec from U8 to U20. Work with as a scout in the Q here. Work in the WHL. Work in the CSSHL. I've worked youth sports. I've worked with pro guys, young guys. Now I'm working in the KHL. So this is who I am. If we move to why we picked Behind the Development, or I should say Behind the Development, it's a mix of me and Alex. So I own Behind the Bench, and he's own Hockey Development in French, en français. So it's a mix of both. So that's why we had a lot of questions. Hey guys, you've made a mistake. No, it's not a mistake. So it's behind the me and development in French, him. So that's a mix that we decided to merge together. So that's why it's not a mistake. It's just a mix of us. So that's why I think it's great because we want to make sure we reach as much as people as we can. Before moving back to Alex with our speaker for this presentation, I will just like to say thank you to all our partners. Without them, we will never have the same exposure worldwide for sure. Everything went beyond and above so far, and thank you to all of you to make this happen. So first of all, we would like to thank the coaches side. Uh, with coaches side, we if you're using the coupon BTD 21 BTD 21, you can save $20 off of an annual membership. And if everyone who subscribe to one of the live conferences, we will giving one free annual membership at the end. So in June, we would like to say thank you to coach them. With them, they provide all the drawing that you can see in the conferences or after throughout the email. You can save 15% off on an annual membership by using the coupon BTD15. BTD15. Same thing as the coaches side. Coach then will give one free annual membership at the end of all the conferences to everyone who subscribed to one of the conferences. And we would like to say thanks to True Hockey. They will give 3 pairs of gloves at the end of the conferences. So we will pick 3 people that will receive a brand new designed by True pair of gloves, the color and the size that you want, obviously. So we would like to say thank you to 3 of them. And we would like to say thank you to Hockey Quebec and Hockey Canada to help us to be part of them and to make that this country probably, not probably, the best country in the world with hockey. So, Alex, your turn with the presentation and the speaker for today.
Thanks, Mitch. We're really proud to have with us today Evan Brownrigg. Evan is the director of player at Next Generation Hockey. He also Hockey Canada certified skill coach. He will talk about technical and tactical skill development. Thank you, Evan, and enjoy everyone.
Well, I guess first of all, thanks for everyone for hopping on, taking some time out of their night to listen in. So for myself, my background, I've been working in player development for about 10 years on a full-time basis. Locally in Ottawa, I work with a couple of high-performance teams, including the Ottawa 67s, the University of Ottawa men's hockey team, and most recently the Carleton Place Canadians. On top of that, though, I'm lucky to work with a big scope of minor hockey athletes every single year through my work with Next Generation Hockey. And what I think that gives me is a unique scope in terms of what athletes need from the grassroots level right up to high performance, right up to kind of the pros. And I'm hoping that whether you're a grassroots coach or a coach just starting out, or you're working in the high performance game with high performance athletes, that the information and knowledge you may need to pass on to your athlete as you rise up to higher levels may change, but kind of the process that we're going to talk about throughout this is very similar throughout the way. So what we're going to talk about quickly is the importance of knowing your athlete, how we go about delivering information to our athletes, and then we're going to dive into kind of the meat of today's presentation, which will be technical skill development, tactical skill development. We'll touch quickly on what I would call the development cycle, and then hope to tie it all together at the end with what this means for you as coaches, for your athletes, for your organization, for your team, whatever it may be. So first things first, I think today's athlete is different than the athlete 10 years ago, different than the athlete 20 years ago. In the sense, kind of gone are the days where coach is expected to tell a player something and they just listen. I think there's certainly still respect there for your coaches and whatnot, but players are more inquisitive than ever. They want to take information in so they can truly understand it. So I call it a Google generation, the generation that's grown up, that anytime they have a question, they type a couple keywords into their phone or into their computer, and all of a sudden they have 100, if not thousands, of resources at their fingertips to go about making their own informed decision. So that's the standard they learn at. So that's the standard that we need to make sure that we teach at. So whenever we're teaching, we need to make sure that we know the who, the what, the when, the why, the where, and the how. And that being said, we need to know our audience, but we also want to make sure that we're appealing to our audience. So I'm going to just play this real quick here.
I've been asked many times, JC, what are your swing thoughts as you're swinging? What are the secrets? What are the secrets of golf that pros know? Well, I heard this one time and I remembered it. It's really, if you'd write this down, it really helped. What I try to do, I try to flat load my feet so I can snap load my power package. That way I can amplify both lag and drag pressure through impact fix. As long as my number 2 power accumulator doesn't break down, I can reach maximum centripetal force with minimum pivotal resistance. You see, the pivot is the utilization of multiple centers to produce a circular motion for generating centrifugal force on an adjusted plane, plus the maintenance and balance necessary to promote the 2-line delivery path. See, golf is geometrically oriented linear force. It involves a physical muscular thrust and the geometry of the circle. You can divide the golf swing into 24 basic components, each having between 12 and 15 variations. Now, when you think of all this and you get it all set, hopefully you'll hit shots like this.
All right, so I included that clip. One, just it's a funny little piece of satire, comedy. But I also think that sometimes that this is kind of what we may sound to our athlete. We want to make sure that we're not providing our players with information overload that doesn't become digestible to them. We're not giving them all the information. We're giving them the right information, the information they need. I think sometimes us as coaches, we become excited by information and excited with what we know. We go online, we do seminars like this. We are looking up things all the time, trying to find resources to improve our knowledge. And our coaching sometimes becomes us telling that athlete how much we know versus telling them what they need to know. So it's really important that when we coach, our coaching is athlete centric. It's about the athlete and what their needs are, not necessarily about the coach telling them how much they know. And that goes with it needs to be age appropriate. The language that I'm probably going to use with a Younger athlete versus a high performance athlete versus a professional athlete is probably going to be slightly different because of their ability to digest that information. And within that, I think it's important to understand the value of your words. I've found that this is something for me is in my growth as a coach that I have found really valuable for myself. Just in that sometimes it's again, not what you know, it's how you say it. So if I want a player to get depth in their stance, the traditional thing to say is bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees. Optically, that might be correct. But if instead I tell that athlete to flex forward at their ankles to get depth in their stance, that flexing forward at the ankles forces them to bend their knees, forces them to get depth in their stance, and actually puts them in the optimal position. So it's understanding how can I use my words to really guide them to what I'm looking for, and ultimately paint a picture of what I'm looking for from that athlete. And then, of course, any single time we get on the ice, we want to make sure that there's a reason behind whatever we're focusing on, that we put purpose behind our practice. And for me, as a coach, it's 50% what you know and 50% about how you deliver it. So that's why I just wanted to go over this part and keeping in mind how we deliver information to our athletes. So kind of the meat of the presentation here, technical versus tactical skill development. So technical skill development would be kind of what I refer to as our traditional development, in that it's technique-based skills. It's individual skills. It's your skating, your shooting, your stick handling, and how can I make you a more efficient, more effective, more explosive, have better performance in these technical areas. Where tactical becomes largely related on how to approach a situation strategically to be more likely to obtain a desired result, or dictate the play or control your controllables. It's building on technical skills that we already possess, but learning how to use those technical skills kind of in a tactical manner, where you can dictate a little bit better. And I hope that as the presentation goes on, I'm able to paint a better picture of that. Ultimately, like what I'm going to walk you guys through is what we at NextGen have determined to be our process. I'm sure there's other processes that work. I'm sure there's other processes that may work better for certain people. It's what we found has worked and is tried, tested, and true for us. But ultimately, I think what you're really just trying to get out of this is, any single time I step on the ice, I make a lesson, I'm preparing something for development, I need to make sure that I have a purpose and a pathway. I have a purpose for stepping on the ice, and I have a pathway to kind of get to my end goal. So purpose, what's our focus for the session? Why am I focusing on these areas? Are they relevant? Do they have value? What's my defined end goal? What am I kind of hoping to get out of the session? What am I hoping to get out of my season plan, whatever it may be? And pathway, what's the process to kind of get there? Am I making sure that whatever I'm giving to my athlete is, again, digestible or manageable, but also making sure that it's challenging enough that allows them the opportunity to fail forward, that it's not just kind of a breeze and they're just going out for a little skate. And so the way we do this from a technical standpoint is what I would refer to as our skill acquisition process or skill development process. So that's what I'm going to walk you guys through here right now. And basically what our thought process is with the skill development process is making it a segmented approach. So it's instead of giving the athlete a skill all at once and having a ton of noise around every single area, it's breaking it down into specific segments or specific parts of the development process that allows it to become more manageable for the player. It allows them to get hyper-focused on certain areas and then build the skill up. So we're essentially taking the skill down to its most basic form, especially whenever there's a deficiency, and then we're building that skill back up to game application. And so the 4 steps for us are isolation, sequencing, patterning, and stress. And I'm going to walk you guys through each one of those right now. So isolation is the teaching of an individual fundamental skill required to execute a specific pattern. So instead of working on players going through a full pattern of something, we're taking a very small element of it and the contributing elements to that segment of the skill. So if we're doing something related to change of direction, and we notice that there's a inside edge or outside edge deficiency, we are just going to isolate that inside edge to have that player understand how they can better use their posture, their weight distribution, their balance, their body control, whatever it may be. But we remove the noise of having to focus on all the other elements of the skill and we just focus on the inside edge, or we just focus on the outside edge, or stick positioning, or your hands and feet working in cadence, whatever the skill may be. It's just a small segment of it instead of the entire thing. Sequencing is the sequential skills that are required to execute a recognizable and situational movement as efficiently and effective as possible. So simplified, it's a game recognizable skill in not necessarily a game recognizable situation. So it's kind of your traditional drill. It's your player skating a cloverleaf pattern. It's your player skating a figure eight pattern. Probably not going to skate that pattern in the game. But what that pattern allows you to do is focus on the order of operations for that player when they are executing a skill. So when they're making a tight turn, making sure they're leading with the stick, looking with the head, inside legs going first. When do they exit with their crossover? It's taking all those isolations we worked on before, and then what is my sequence, or what is my order of operations within the skill that allows that player to be as efficient and effective as possible with that skill. And what we really are trying to focus on here is allowing the opportunity for repetition, where the athlete's allowed to develop the feeling of what does this skill feel like in an ideal environment. Then we have patterning. So patterning is creating drill patterns and movements that are no longer just drills, but take place in specific areas of the game. So for example, again, if we're keeping the tight turns, maybe it's a drill where a player's making a tight turn off the wall and getting to the net for a shot on net. And we're talking about the pattern of the turn in the sense that the player makes a turn. Okay, let's not go wide. Let's make sure that we're cutting back in. So we're regaining our ice, we're regaining hip position on an opponent in the game, and then we're getting our shot on net. So it's kind of reinforcing now, not just the technique, but the where to use, the how to use, and the when to use. And this should be for the athlete when practice to game transfer starts becoming recognizable, where they really understand where it can be used in the game. And then we have stress. So for us, we have two different types of stress. We have controlled stress or coach stress, and then we have chaotic stress. And basically what we're doing is we're taking all those elements that we just had, that we just built up, and we're applying some form of pressure on the athlete. Maybe it's just something passive from the coach where it's adding a little bit more difficulty, but it isn't quite gameplay. Or maybe we're getting to a point where it's fully chaotic. It's a live battle, one-on-one. Maybe we give an advantage to the athlete that's working on the skill. Maybe we don't. But basically what we're trying to look to do is demonstrate a similar level of competency with or without stress within this stage. And so this is taken from Austin Keating file with the 67s from a couple seasons ago. And basically what we started to notice is that he was having difficulty escaping pressure off a tight turn, that he was getting himself in the good spots. But after he was making a turn, he wasn't able to create the separation that he needed to use the skill and to make a play. And what we ended up finding after digging in on it is that we felt he had an outside edge deficiency. We felt that he had an inability to create explosiveness, to create separation on that step out of his tight turn. And what it kind of came down to actually was a lack of ankle flexion, a lack of ability to create snap and leverage his legs to separate from his opponent. So what we did is we took that big skill and we broke it down right to the start, and we isolated it. We isolated it with a figure eight edge work drill where he was able to use his edges under control, or where we placed an emphasis on posture. And we did a series of different edge work drills, both inside and outside edge, but really focused kind of on that ankle flexion. Then we got into sequencing. Okay, so now that he's got a good feeling on his outside edges and inside edges, we did some figure eight patterns. We did some cloverleaf patterns where we talked about how he could change his body mechanics slightly to make himself a little bit more efficient, a little bit more effective. What's your order of operations when you want to change direction? That's going to allow you the opportunity to be as explosive as possible, to set yourself up for success. Then we got into patterning. So we started creating specific game patterns where we felt that he was going to be able to use this. And the example I think I have here is a low zone entry to turn on the half wall, kind of a low delay where he's popping to the middle and taking a shot on net. And within this pattern, we build on the how and the when and the why. We're talking, like I said before, about how you exit a turn, how you can regain your ice, how you can kind of dictate your opponent, but you get more into the actual gameplay. And then within those same patterns, those same drills we started adding stress from the coach, and then stress from other teammates to make it as game-like as possible. And this doesn't necessarily always work A to Z. Sometimes you'll isolate for a while and get to sequence. You might have to come back, but this is kind of the general idea of it. And so for myself personally, I'm a visual learner, and everything that we kind of just chatted about there, it applies to every element of development from a technical perspective. It doesn't matter if it's skating or it's puck skills. It should have the ability to apply. So this video that I'm going to show you is a Kyle Maximovich. We picked him up at the deadline 3 years ago. And basically what we were finding is with our structure and in our power play, pucks were coming to him, and the plan was that he was going to shoot and hopefully score. And we were finding that he was getting lots of looks, but not necessarily getting the success that he may have wanted. And after looking at video, we began to notice that he shot a lot off his inside leg, and we just kind of felt that if we could just show him what he could do with shooting off his outside leg to allow himself to suck pucks in closer to his body, to have a better cadence with his feet as he approached screens or moving targets, he may be able to have a little bit more success with it. So I'll walk you through it real quick here. And so basically with him, we just walked through the same kind of process I just talked you guys through. We did an isolation where we just focused on his hands and feet working in cadence, where his inside leg's kicking back, and he's able to suck his hands in to change the angle a little bit. And by kicking his inside leg back, it would force his chest over the puck, which when you're shooting from above the top of the circle, gives you that heaviness you might want. Then we sequenced it. So he's moving his feet right up to the target as he fires. This could be patterning, but for the sake of how our development process worked here, we would consider it sequencing. And then here's a specific pattern. He would receive kind of a D to D pass, come towards the target and fire on net. And then our stress was we had a moving screen, so he'd have to play with his cadence with his feet and his timing to try and get that puck on net. And so here was the weekend after, I think. He ended up being able to have some nice game application with it and get one. And I wish they always worked out that way. They most certainly don't, but it definitely feels good kind of when they do. So within this whole process for us, what we like to try and have is our key points, or I refer to them kind of as my markers. I'm not actually going to go through all these in depth just because there's quite a bit to them. But basically these are kind of my cause and effect. So if I notice that there's a certain effect happening when the player's shooting or skating, okay, I'm going to come back to these key teaching points and find the cause. How's his top hand doing? How's his grip hand pulling in? Is it coming towards his armpit? Is it dropping too low? What's his push angle with his power hand? Where's he prepping the puck on his body? Is it in his body pocket? Is it in his blade pocket, or is it in an unleverageable position? What's his body angle like? Is he getting his chest over the puck? Is he behind the puck? Whatever it may be. But these allow me to kind of find my isolations, find where I may begin building that kind of process back up based on where his deficiency may lie. And so we have these for stick handling. We have these for skating as well. And I imagine that everyone kind of has these. And I just think that I don't think anyone's need to be these, and everyone probably has some varying different opinions on how you should skate and how you should shoot the puck and how you should handle the puck. But I think it's important to come into your lessons with your key points and your key markers, so you're kind of able to quickly identify what's the cause and effect and where can we go with things. And then ultimately for me, development's what I would call cyclical in the sense that it should never really stop. So we're kind of always looking to, you've achieved something, we want to evolve to the next stage. So when you get there, when you have the success of those goals or some of the tactical stuff we get into, okay, now what do we need to reestablish? What's our new purpose? Okay, we need to make sure that we get ourselves educated on it, we get our players educated on it, We want to empower them then with the information that they need, empower ourselves with the ability to pass this information on to the athlete and then evolve. And I think by doing that, you're always helping your players move forwards, rather than kind of getting stuck in the past or getting stuck behind the development curve. It should always be cyclical. You should always be looking to move forward. So quick summary, just to hopefully paint a clear picture here. For technical skill development, we have isolation, sequencing, patterning, and stress. Isolation is a small segment of skill. Sequencing is your A to Z process. What's my order of operations? Patterning is creating a game-specific pattern or game-applicable pattern. And stress is putting pressure on it, putting purpose behind that practice. And all steps have really important roles. And like I said, it's not A to Z. Like a lot of the time, maybe from a technical perspective, your player has everything they need in isolation and in sequencing, but they just don't understand the little intricacies that can go into the skill to be more successful. And you just live in the patterning and you live in the stress. Or maybe it's the complete opposite. They're an extremely smart player situationally, but they're missing some technique, and you're living mostly in the isolation, the sequencing. It doesn't need to be A to Z, but these are steps that help you kind of along the way. And we kind of look at everything as an end goal and building towards that end goal. So we refer to this process as re-engineering a skill. It's breaking down a full skill into its most simplistic segments or right down to its deficiency, removing the noise around that deficiency, and then building that skill right back up. Ultimately, when you go on the ice, it's important that we define purpose. So it's not just a tight turn drill. There's got to be a reason behind it. And basically this entire process that we talked about works for individuals. It works for groups, and I'm sure there's variations that work better for other people, but this is a process that we have found has worked well for us. So second portion here of presentation would be our tactical skill development. So tactical skill development is the isolation of direct game situational opportunities applicable in all coaches' systems and tactical plans. So this will include play away from puck, play on the puck, as well as consideration to situations to exploit goalie and opponent tendencies. So it places an emphasis on basically dictating the play or controlling your controllables. It's the next step from the how and the when that we kind of talk about in the technical side. It includes things, but isn't limited to separation skating, your second action, your shot routes, your ability to create space, your counter bumps. And the big thing behind this is we as coaches are showing our athletes what to do. We're not just telling them. I'm not just telling them that I want you to get out there on the ice, and in order to be successful, you need to be able to create space for yourself. Okay, well, how? And that's what we're trying to do here with these tactical skills is we're trying to enable our athletes or put the tools in their toolbox to allow them to actually achieve desired results. And so the way that we do this is what we would call tactical skill pillars. And these pillars evolve with the game. These pillars evolve with what team coaches might value, with what lends itself to the success of your team system. But ultimately, I would say they're probably largely fairly similar in the sense that a lot of coaches are going to value similar things. And basically, the thought process is you combine minds as a team or as a group, coaching staff, whatever it may be, and you figure out what are the things that I value for a hockey player, what are the things that I value within my system, what are the things I think will lend to individual and team success, and you segment them into areas. So our creating space for ourselves and others, our give and go game on zone entry, zone exit, our second actions around generating offense, our ability to close quickly. What's our second quick? How do we use that for time and space? And those are large, broad views. And then within each one of these views, we have a bunch of subsections. So creating space for yourself and others. That's great. That's a great concept. That's a great idea. But again, how? And we can create space for ourselves through the ability to box in or out, through separation skating, through our ability to cut other players' hands, through preaching possession over possession, through our ability to use our second action, our ability to enable our players with strategies to win 50-50 battles, our ability to do stick battles, counter bumps, have proactive versus reactive puck protection. All these ideas and concepts, we don't just tell our athletes about, we show them how to go about using it. And in a high performance plan, you might have a dozen. At the junior level, you might have quite a bit because they already have a good foundation to build upon. We're at the grassroots level, maybe we're only coming up with 2 or 3 concepts, and then once they grasp it, we can build new ones and build new ones. Because 2 or 3 concepts across 4 pillars is 12 concepts in the season, and that's a decent amount of progression you're probably seeing in your athletes that they might not get elsewhere. So what I'm going to walk you guys through here is just a quick little example of how we go about tackling some of these tactical skills. And this one would be kind of counterbumps or preaching the importance of position over possession. So putting your body in a position to succeed versus getting puck hungry and then being in the bad spot when we get the puck on our stick. And so with this tactical skill, we also go through that same skill acquisition process of isolation, sequencing, parroting, stress, but you don't necessarily always have to. So I'll let the video play. I'll talk a bit over it, and then also just have some times where you can watch. So basically what we're doing here is we're getting into counterbumps. We're not overly intense here, but we're just isolating the feeling of trying to make contact with the athlete, initiate that contact to help us create separation and change direction. That was what I would call like a separation bump, in the sense there was separation between our shoulders, where this one's established contact. I'm already leaning on my player, trying to get my shoulder in front of his so I can sell like I'm maybe going towards the middle, and that creates enough of a false positive or whatever you want to call it for the other player that I'm actually able to cut back and create some separation. So here we're getting into patterning. We're actually getting them to put a puck on their stick and create a replicable game pattern. But again, same kind of idea. You're just trying to get your shoulders in front of that player. You're trying to preach position over possession, and fight for a lane and sell like you're going to the net, and then give a little push. We're able to cut back, create separation, get your hips in front of that player, and separate. Here's a stress. So this is coach stress drill, where we're just adding in a second layer to make it more game-like, where you've escaped that first layer of pressure, second layer is coming, and we're driving to the net. And so with these, we'll do them in different situations, whatever our tactical skill is, to try and preach how the little intricacies might be slightly different depending on where you are on the ice, but the concepts are very much the same. So here's a couple kind of in the D zone, or could be looked at as in the O zone, depending. But basically, we're preaching position over possession. We're trying to get our shoulders in front of the coach's body here. We're giving a little bit of a bump, and we're able to create separation. So fighting for a lane, didn't quite get in front of me, and then bumped off there. So 50-50 puck again, trying to get position over possession, get his body in front of mine where he could sell like he's going either way, which puts me on pause, and then he has a decision on which way he wants to go. Puts me on pause. He's able to dictate which way he wants to go because he's established lane. And then we're getting into patterning. So it's the same kind of coach pressure that we just talked about, where we're trying to win the lane, and then we're able to dictate because we've done that. We give a little bump, we separate, and the pattern is that he's cutting the net there like he would in a game, or we'd like him to in a game, before going to make an outlet. And so again, keeping with the theme of show, don't tell, we really like to find game examples of things. For us, if you can't find it at the highest level in the game, you're either real innovative and you're coming up with something pretty cool here, or maybe it doesn't have too much of a purpose. So we're going to walk through just a couple quick counterbumps here. And some of them can be real impactful, like these. We're actually knocking that player off their feet to create the separation you need and go to make a play. Like these ones here, which are pretty entertaining. Or some maybe a little borderline on some of them, but basically the thought process is you're given a bump, and that bump creates space for yourself to make a play. you're given a bump. That bump gives a little bit of space for yourself to make a play. And they can be big like those ones we just saw, or can be something just subtle like this. Low bump gives them time to use a skill to make a play towards the net. So a low bump, time to use a skill, stick commits to one side of the body. He's able to dictate, make a play towards the net. We have a goal. Zuccarello, little guy, little butt bump, creates space for him to use a skill, make a play up the wall, results in a goal. Just tiny little bump, enough to knock that guy off balance, put him on pause, be able to dictate the play, and get the results you want. So trying to wrap that up in a way that hopefully makes sense from a tactical standpoint is basically what you're trying to do as a team, as an organization, whatever it may be, is define what's your identity, what's your team's identity, what do you want a player to look like in your organization, what skill does a player need to succeed in your league, and so maybe some of the tactical skills you're going to work on for a 16-year-old high performance player is going to be different than the tactical skills that you're going to do with a 8-year-old non-high performance player. So it's just a matter of defining where they are in their development and what's important. Everyone needs to be able to skate the game, but maybe at some portions of a player's development, the skating related tactical skills are more important than the contact related tactical skills. System plan, what skills do your players need to succeed in your system? I mean, 50-50 battles happen all over the place, but do they have them more in your system with the way it's set up? Do you need to really preach that? Do you need to really preach position over possession? Or are you a team that prioritizes puck possession? If you do, are things like proactive puck protection things that you want to keep in mind? Age and level, kind of like I just talked about there, what's important for development for your players at their level. And I don't know if low hanging fruit, maybe that's not the best word I would use, but what's the building block for the next coach, for the next year, for their next step up? Are you giving them the tools that they need to be successful when they make the jump to the next level? And ultimately, what I really like about the tactical side of the game and these tactical pillars is it's a lot of sharing of information, and it allows there to be a lot of synergy between your group as a whole. We're lucky, where I'm in Canada, we're lucky that there's a ton of minor hockey coaches who volunteer their time and have a lot of energy to put into our players and help them get to the next level. And some of those are guys with pro backgrounds and a ton of hockey experience, and some of those are people who just want to help out and get athletes to be better. But I think what this sort of stuff does is allows the coaches on your staff who do have a lot of knowledge, or allows you as a group to combine your knowledge where everyone is kind of on the same page. Everyone knows what they're talking about. Everyone knows, okay, we're telling them to create time and space for themselves, but everyone knows kind of what the process and what the key points are and what we're trying to reinforce. So it becomes not just one brain on your staff that knows all these things, but it's downloaded to everyone's brain, and there's accountability throughout, and you have your athletes kind of truly understand your expectations. It's kind of the old adage of every coach tells their players to work hard, but if Lil Johnny gets on the ice and he gets a puck and he gains the red line, he gets pressure on him, chips puck in and goes chase down that player, forechecks, doesn't get the puck, back checks 200 feet back the other way, and then gets off. He worked hard. He definitely worked hard. He did what you asked him to, but I'm not sure that's the result that you're kind of looking for. So these tactical skill puts kind of the smart work behind the hard work. And then ultimately, the big thing, and I think I've said a couple times throughout this, is you can't just tell your players what you have to do. You really need to make sure that you're showing them. And I think personally, it's important that you make time for it every single day. So regardless of level, there's always the opportunity to incorporate some skill into practice. And for me, this tactical element becomes the connective tissue of your team. You can be the smartest person in the world tactically, but if your players can't respond within their system or don't have the skill sets to do so, you're not going to be very successful. Where I find this is kind of the connective tissue. It's the dotting of the I's, the crossing of the T's. It's the space in between your system that you can help lend to their success. And so I know that a lot of people probably say that it is hard to make time for skill every day. And I know that it can be difficult, I'm sure, at times. But it can just be simple things like this. So this is from the World Juniors this year. It's just the cutting of hands. So this is the highest junior level, and they're working on simple tactical concepts because it reinforces it in their mind and allows them the time to practice it so they can apply it in the game. So if they're able to find time in it, I'm sure most of us can find time for a simple warm-up like this where we reinforce, or a station here and there where we're looking to reinforce skills like that. So kind of in summary for the presentation as a whole, it's important that we as coaches are good communicators, that we, especially in the skill development world, where sometimes it becomes a little bit more individual, that we understand and we appeal to their players. We want to try to give them the who, the what, the when, the why, the where, and the how when it's appropriate. If they don't need it all, maybe they don't, but we want to have it in our back pocket if they are to ask questions. We want to have a purpose and a pathway. So for us, that's our skill acquisition process that we kind of talk about, of where we start and where we want to go. But for you, that might be something different. From the technical aspect, like I talked about, our skill process there, it allows the opportunity for the athlete to fail forward. It's challenging, but it's manageable. And I'm trying to make that athlete confident and competent. I'm not trying to tear them down and make it ridiculously difficult, but they have to work through some things to get to something new. So that's broken down into our isolation, our sequencing, our patterning and stress. Our isolations, our segment, our sequences, our order of operations, our patterns, our game-specific application, and our stress is tying it all together and putting that real purpose behind practice. And then tactical, just kind of what we talked about there, is it's important to define what tactical concepts your team or organization value, whatever it may be. So actually one of them I didn't mention is for us with 67s, we want our players to be puck hungry. We want players to hunt pucks when we're around the net. So we take a shot on net. We want them to be conditioned to go chase down that rebound. And I know that can blow some drills up sometimes, but for us, basically what we ask is a shot's taken on net. You're taking 2 steps towards that puck. The puck rips all the way around the boards and they would blow up the drill if you go get it. You don't have to go get it, but we're conditioning you that after you shoot, you're reacting right away to the rebound. And then the rest of the drill can kind of happen. And then the big thing I kind of talked about a couple times is it's just really important that we show our athletes what we want. We don't just tell them to create time and space. We show them how to go about it so they can hear it, they can see it, and they can feel it. So that's kind of it for me here from the technical and tactical aspect. But if there's any questions, Alex, I can answer a couple here for sure.
Evan, thanks for your presentation. I think you really cover everything. I really enjoy all your pictures, how you're breaking down with the 4 parts and everything. I think it just put a picture instead of just, talking, and I think coaches will really enjoy it. Everyone, since a couple of weeks now, all of our conferences are on YouTube. So make sure to check out our social media to know when it's the next one available. As you can see, we have Riley available soon. So again, make sure you like our social media just to follow us and know when they'll be online. And it's probably because of you that we can get bigger and expand a little bit more. So thank you. If you have any question, feel free to use the chat. Alex will go through and ask some questions after the conferences. Right after the presentation, the conference, I will send an email at everyone. Inside that email, we will have some drills that Evan just draw on it with Coach Dem. If you do not receive the email, make sure you take a look in your spam or junk email. Usually they're going there. And lastly, before moving to the question, we would like to say thank you to all our sponsors. So we'd like to say thank you to Coach's Site, Coach Dem, and True. Everyone who register for one of the conferences will be have a chance to win something. So Coach's Site and Coach Dem, they're giving away 1 free annual membership. True is giving away 3 pairs of gloves. That's big. So thank you to all of you. And you can use the coupon BTD21 with the coach's site to save $20 off, or BTD15 with Coach Dem, and you can save 15% off. And for both of them, you can click on the link that we will send into that email, and you can have 10 days of free trial with them. So I think it's a must to be with them. Moving on to the question, I have 4 questions for you. The first one, Cody is asking how to teach system or skills in a fun way.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm definitely not the team tactics guy. I'll definitely say that. So that's probably not my specialty from the team side.
Yeah.
But I think for me, where I found the ability to add fun in it is kind of that stress level. I think that everyone plays the game to compete, and that's the reason that we're doing things. So I try to generally, when it's appropriate, have some element of stress within all my lessons plan where players have the ability to compete against one another, have the ability to have that true game application. Because I think that's why you play the game. You play the game to play, not necessarily always just go through skills. So that's how I kind of find my fun in practice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes. Craig is asking, what ratio would you suggest for minor hockey coaches, so bantam and down, should focus on offensive skills and tactics?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm definitely very biased on the skill side of things. Like for me, I think if you have an athlete who has the ability to understand structure and can respond to structure, the power play intricacies that he's going to have from one year to the next, or the D zone he's going to have from one year to the next is going to change. So I personally don't love, especially at younger levels where coaches beat systems to death. I think that the game is going in a way where it's becoming more and more skilled. It's becoming more and more creative, and it's becoming more and more beneficial to the players who are good with having a puck on their stick. So for me, that's something that I like to play with the most. I don't know if I necessarily call it 100% towards offense, but I would say it's largely towards what I would call opportunity, in the sense that it's your ability to play with the puck to create opportunities for teammates, or defend in a way that creates opportunities for teammates. That's where I'd be trying to guide my development around, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Leyland is asking, how do you go about linking mechanics to move so that players have more options on the ice in any given situation?
Sorry, I couldn't actually hear that.
How do you go about linking mechanics to move so that players have more options on the ice in any given situation?
So in terms of biomechanics?
Yeah, again, like that, it's somebody who's asking the question, so we cannot ask him right now. But my guess is like how, mechanics, so shooting, skating, like everything. How do you link that with game situations so they can figure it out, or they have more options?
Yeah. So for me, the isolation and the sequence, when we're talking about the technical skills, is where you're developing the technique for the athlete, where the patterning stage becomes where I feel like you can become creative. So we're trying to teach the athlete in the isolation all the segments that led to the success of the skill. We're trying in the sequencing stage to teach the athlete what's the best order of operation to make you as efficient, effective, explosive, whatever it may be. And then we get creative in the patterning. We get to watch video. We get to watch NHL games, OHL games, whatever it may be, and find situations that lend themselves to the skill. And that's how I would go about kind of teaching different opportunities, is watching video, finding things that happen frequently, and what lends to its success within that technique.
Yeah, no, I think that was exactly the question. Last one, and I think it's a good one. Because like, man, I'll just add on, because we're everyone is on social media and we watching you guys like doing video and high-end stuff, and it's just amazing. So that question, it's based on that, I guess. What toys, or we could say tools, are good on the ice, and what are a waste of time?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we probably use more than some people, but I also don't think we use a ton. I enjoy using things like tuck unders, because so for me, when I think about shooting, everyone wants the ability to shoot the puck in order to score. One of the least talked about elements of shooting is what I refer to as puck preparation. So it's the ability to take an unprepared puck, whether it's coming off puck protection, whether it's coming off a catch, whether it's coming off a move, whatever it may be, and put that puck into your body pocket or your blade pocket, where it's in a position where you're able to rip that onto the net. And I find that tuck unders are a really good way to create some noise and create some kind of mental stress around puck preparation. So those are something that we'll use from the offensive standpoint quite a bit. And then kind of the only other tools that we'll typically use, which again kind of lend to puck preparation, would be kind of your rebounders to try and create some bounces or some game-like situations. We have used parachutes in the past, but that's kind of just a load thing, making your players work. But those are kind of definitely my favorites. I really enjoy using tuck unders and getting into the rebounders thing. And then from a technical standpoint, video is your best friend. We use video for social media and to show things, and that's great. But largely we're using video to give feedback to our athletes, because again, you want them to be able to feel it, you want them to be able to hear it, but you also want them to be able to see it. If I'm telling the guy that your top hand, your pull hand's not coming to where I want it to when you're shooting, and he thinks it does, but then I can show him on video it's not, I think it kind of furthers their learning.
Good. Alex, up to you.
Yes, I have a question. Just added in the chat. So creating good habits in a game is crucial. Like the example you provide about the hard to stride to on the puck during practice when a shot was made to create that memory. Do you have any other good one that you tell your elite athlete to do, like the example you provide?
Yeah, probably one that I don't hear talked about as much as it should be, or language use as I should be, that I've really grown to like over the last couple of years would be position over possession. And I think I talked about it a couple times throughout the presentation and talked about it within those counter bumps. But I do find that we're a group of coaches that have taught players to win puck battles and get to pucks, and we become very puck hungry instead of fighting for our lane where we're setting ourselves up for success. I find a lot of people are barreling in, they're trying to get to a puck, and then when they get to the puck, they don't have any safety outlet, they don't have anywhere to turn, they're getting pinched off, they're getting separated from the puck, and that battle is nothing. So for me, that'd be kind of a key term that I like, is position over possession. So prioritizing putting your body in a good position. So not only a safe position, but a position that allows you multiple options and allows you the ability to make multiple plays. And then the other one would probably be a similar kind of idea, but the cutting of hands. Players, especially kind of at a high performance level, are so similar in their abilities that it's so hard to get to new ice or create ice or create an advantage, that often we try to outskate another player, and it's difficult to happen. So instead, getting into the mindset of, I get a puck on my stick, I just want to get my shoulders and my hips in front of you, and I'm going to cut right through your hands. I'm going to put my body through your hands in a position where you don't really have leverage to lean on me, you don't have leverage to push on me, and now I've established lane, now I can dictate, and now I can go about kind of making my plays.
Thanks. The tuck under is the stick with you can go under it. Is it that?
Yeah, like ours are
just for the people. They were
two pucks with a little stick underneath.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate. Great presentation as always. Oops, someone's starting to present. I don't know why. So just to tell everyone that Dean Seymour will be with us next on this week on Thursday. And if you want to go, you can go on the channel YouTube. You have all the videos that are there, and there's some from last year also, so you can check some stuff over there also. So thank you, Evan. Really appreciate. It was a pleasure to receive you. And thank you, everyone. Have a great evening and a good playoff. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.